Welcome into the official Jets podcast.
I eat, breathe, and sleep the New York Jets, my team.
He knows what it means to wear the green and white.
That is a tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. That's hard to do.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
We got an amazing podcast in store for you today. In a couple moments, we're going to be joined by Jets team MVP from 2024, Jamien Sherwood. He signed with the green and white even before free agency kicked off. But Greens, your overall thoughts here as the Jets have gotten this thing underway, their offseason under Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn?
I think that they've done a great job so far. I think that Sherwood is a kind of a microcosm of what the Jets want to be. Like Aaron Glenn, I don't know him all too well, but speaking to him in Indianapolis when he was on our live show, you got the sense that he wanted players, A, that want to be here, B, that play hard. And I always, with Sherwood, revert back to the Dolphins game in Miami when he had 18 tackles. The Jets season had already gone down a path that nobody thought that it was going to go down. And he had his best game of his career. And it just shows, like, it doesn't matter the day, the time, the record, the place. Jamien Sherwood's always going to put in the work, and he was rewarded for it.
Man, he was ready for his opportunity. He was a fifth-round pick out of Auburn back in 2021, and he was a reserve here his first 3 seasons. Dealt with the Achilles. And then in 2024, when C.J. Mosley, the heartbeat of that defense, the middle linebacker, he went down with a toe injury in week 2 and then later sustained, unfortunately, the neck injury prior to that game, week 7 against the New England Patriots. He was ready for his moment. And the bottom line here is if Sherwood hit the market, he would have had multiple suitors.
Yeah.
But Muji got this done before anybody could take their shot.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to the job that Darren Muji did and his staff. And I think what goes overlooked with Jamien Sherwood, obviously he had a great season last year, not only for the Jets, obviously in the NFL as well, considering his tackle numbers, but before that, he was like a special teams ace for the Jets. It's not like he was just a backup who didn't take a lot of reps. He, in 2023, took 420 snaps on special teams. He's the only player on the team to go over 400, and he was essentially one of the core pieces on what was Brant Boyer's unit at the time.
Yep.
And then he gets his opportunity on defense, and he doesn't miss a beat, and he just steps right in. He gets better every week, and if you're a Jets fan, I think you got to feel good about this. There's no way that you can't feel good about it.
He's a great culture fit, and he's young, and he loves ball, and he was ready for his opportunity. And I thought that was a huge signing because he is the quarterback of the defense. And then the pairing with him and Quincy Williams, that's a really dynamic middle playing behind Quincy's brother, of course, Quinn Williams.
Yeah, it keeps a lot of the defense intact. And for what it's worth, I think this Jets defense has a lot of very talented players. And the nucleus of the team with Quinnen and Quincy, Jamien, Sauce, Michael Carter II, there's a lot of talented pieces. Jermaine and Will McDonald, I forgot about them. Like, to me, there's no reason why, if you're Steve Wilks, you don't think you can be at least above average, right? Like, the Jets have really good personnel, and I'm interested to see how Steve Wilks wants to run his defense through these pieces.
Yeah, they're certainly not done because we're here. Free agency actually kicked off a couple moments ago, so it's Wednesday we're taping. The Jets are going to have to do something at defensive tackle. It's been so interesting, the movement here throughout the National Football League. Javon Kinlaw, he scored a lucrative deal with the Washington Commanders. And you know what I automatically thought when I saw that deal was compensatory picks for the Jets in 2026. Not only does Kinlaw go, but Solomon Thomas, no surprise here because I'm always looking at connections throughout the National Football League. He joins the Dallas Cowboys. Who's their new defensive line coach? It's Aaron Whitecotton, of course.
Yeah.
So,
and Tenzel Smart's on that staff,
too.
too.
There you go. And then you go back, so I don't know if you want to touch upon a defensive tackle at all or if we should go back to the secondary because there's a lot of changes there. What you do have in place here is Sauce Gardner, one of the top young talents at the position, at the cornerback position in football. Michael Carter II, who's chomping at the bit to have a season where he's fully healthy. I think people forget how valuable he is at that nickel position. But Brandon Stevens could be your new CB2 because TJ Reed signs with Aaron Glenn's former team in free agency. The Detroit Lions, Brandon Echols agrees to terms with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the backup there on the outside. And then in the safety position, we anticipated a lot of movement because the Jets had 4 safeties heading into free agency. Ashton Davis, of course, he signs with Miami Dolphins, but the Jets get a free safety in Andre Sisco, a kid who grew up in Queens. Well, he was born in Queens, but he grew up on Long Island, went to Syracuse, and he's a rangy athlete, and he's just 24 years old. So Stevens, 27 years old, playing on the outside. He's got some position flexibility, and then Sisco is a guy who hopefully can help this defense take the next steps in terms of takeaways.
Yeah, I think that the Andre Sisco move, along with Stevens, one, they're both versatile pieces.
Yep.
And that's obviously a big piece of this equation for the Jets. Again, my biggest question is really on both sides of the ball. With Wilkes, I think less so because we have an understanding of what he wants to do. I think on offense, when you factor in the Justin Fields move and what the Jets have on offense, my biggest question is how similar or dissimilar is it actually going to look from Detroit's offense based on personnel, based on what Tanner Engstrand wants to do? We just don't know. Like, I think it's easy to say, okay, well, Tanner Engstrand comes from the Ben Johnson scheme in Detroit. I'm just not quite sure how much of a carbon copy he'll try to make it.
I love the Fields addition. I mean, he's 26 years old. He's a former number 11 overall selection in the draft. He had some success in Chicago, of course, and he goes to Pittsburgh last year. He was 4-2 as a starter. I think this Jets offense is going to be predicated on running the football. And again, they got away from that last year, did not have a tremendous amount of success on the ground. But there are pieces here, especially in that backfield with Breece Hall and company and those young backs. Now you add Fields to the equation. And my thing is, that's a fair question. What is Engstrand? How is he going to dial it up? Well, you have different personnel here, but I do think what you can take away from Detroit is the quarterback's going to be more under center. The Jets are going to try to add some more pieces to the offensive line because they're going to want to dominate up front. And then they're going to try to get the playmakers the ball with some play action.
Yeah.
And I really could see the Jets putting a lot of pressure on defenses with those RPOs and the zone reads if it is indeed Fields. I mean, Tyrod Taylor can do that as well. He's another guy who's got dual threat, but Fields is a guy who's averaged more than 50 yards per game on the ground throughout his career. He had more than 1,000 yards a couple years back with the Chicago Bears, and we've seen his development, and I don't think he's a finished product, so it's going to be interesting pairing him up with Engstrand and Charles London, new quarterback coach.
Yeah, I think also what the Jets have in Taylor and Fields, I think at this point in their career, Fields is probably a stronger runner just given his age and given that he has the second most rushing yards by a quarterback in a single season in NFL history.
Yep.
Tyrod, I don't know if it's fair to say he's probably a little bit more of a polished passer, but I would give him a slight edge for sure, just as a passer, and he's seen more defenses, and he's probably than what Justin Fields has seen. But to me, their skill sets are similar. So what the Jets seem like they're implementing is no matter who starts under center, they're going to run a similar offense. It's not a case where this is one offense for this guy and this is one offense for another guy.
Yeah, Fields is a big dude, too. He's
huge.
6'3", 227 pounds, and Glenn was a defensive coordinator, was calling signals against him. Of course, when AG was in Detroit and Fields was at quarterback in Chicago, so he knows firsthand, hey, what kind of pressure does he put on us as a defense? Because you're going to have to defend all 11 players. It becomes a numbers game with Fields back there. So, you know, good for him to get this opportunity and good for the Jets because this is the guy they wanted. And there was a lot of people out there, frankly, who said Pittsburgh wanted Fields back.
Yeah, and he was 4-2 last year as a starter. And yeah, I think what happened in Pittsburgh is just very interesting because we'll never really know, you know, did Justin Fields get benched? Was it just it was always Russell Wilson's job, and when he got healthy, he came back? Like, we'll never really know the answer, but the facts are the facts. Justin Fields is 4-2 as a starter. He had a career-high completion percentage, a career-high passer rating, and he's dynamic with the football when he runs.
And he's also going to be thrown to Garrett Wilson. And I know Pittsburgh had some interesting pieces. Freiermuth at the tight end position. George Pickens, guy can get down the field. But Fields played with Garrett Wilson before at Ohio State. So those guys will reunite. And again, I think this Jets offense ultimately is going to be predicated on running the football. And oh, by the way, this does not necessarily mean there's a period at the end of the sentence at the quarterback position. The Jets could go back in the draft and add somebody else.
They totally could.
Yeah, so we don't know what these guys are going to do because we haven't heard from Muji. We haven't heard from AG. I think the next time we might hear from them is league meetings down in Florida in a couple weeks, but it'll be interesting to see how they talk about that. But the one thing that was clear that Glenn has said since he got here, boots back on the ground at One Jets Drive, was that he wants competition at all positions.
Yeah, and I think that the Jets will certainly try to achieve that at all positions. There's moves to be made between now and the draft, and I know that what any team, and in this case what the Jets do now, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to avoid that position in the draft. Like, we talked about it briefly, like tight end. Even if the Jets add a tight end, it doesn't necessarily mean that a guy like Tyler Warren, who's projected as a potential option to the Jets at 7 overall, doesn't mean the Jets won't add him.
Right.
Like, I just think that there's moves to be made, and I think that the Jets are sitting pretty in a good spot.
I don't think the Jets are done at safety, but, you know, the shuffling in the secondary is interesting. But linebacker, that was a huge get, bringing Sherwood back. And then the other thing that we'll watch here in the early stages of free agency, because there are multiple tiers, is we're going to continue to watch the defensive tackle position, tight end position on offense. And then, speaking of receiver, wide receiver too. I mean, Alan Lazard's still on the roster. You got a couple young guys, Xavier Gibson and Malachi Corley, who didn't see the field much there in his rookie season. But Devontae Adams is now in Los Angeles with the Rams. So who's going to be lining up across from Wilson next year? We don't know yet.
Another valid question. And the Jets could, again, sign and draft someone at that position as well. You know, I think you mentioned linebacker, and a lot of people think about Sherwood and Quincy Williams as they naturally do, and you should. But the Jets had a lot of reserve linebackers play meaningful either snaps on defense and really special teams. Sam McGuavin and Chaz Surratt are two core special teamers. Now, the question is linebacker a core position for Chris Banjo, the new special teams coordinator? How does he view special teams?
That's a great point, because Ashton Davis was a very valuable piece for Brant Boyer when Boyer was here, and Eccles as well. So listen, bottom line.
And Irvin Charles is coming off a major injury.
Yeah, Jets aren't done. But again, nobody's celebrating around here, but I thought it was huge to get Fields because that's a quarterback they wanted, and then to get Jamien Sherwood. That's the way you start free agency off. And speaking of Sherwood, let's get to that interview right now.
The Official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
What was it like when you're putting pen to paper?
It still doesn't feel real, but obviously it's an accomplishment. Like I've said before, you know, my high school coach used to talk about a second contract all the time, and I never knew what he was talking about. Like, I was in high school. So the fact that, like, you know, I'm actually doing it now, and what he said was true, you know, it's just crazy at the end of the day, you know. Things like this, something you dream of as a kid, you know, getting the opportunity to take care of your family, take care of yourself, seeing the work that you put in come to light, you know, it's just an amazing feeling, and I'm blessed to be in this position I am today.
All right, people aren't seeing this who are watching right now, but your mom is here. Why did you bring her to the facility today?
Because she's been there since day one. The first second I opened my eyes, the first second I came into this world, she's been there. So it wouldn't be right not to share this moment with her.
What has she meant to you throughout this journey?
Everything. When, you know, we come up short on Sundays, when we come up big on Sundays, you know, she's got the same message, you know, keep going no matter what, you know. when I have a bad game, when I have a good game, she always just tells me, like, you know what to do, you know how to fix it, and there's always just more on the table. Even with this contract that I got, we're not satisfied. We're going for the third contract. There's always just more on the table. Just having her by my side, she just always basically keeps that in my ear. Don't get satisfied, don't get comfortable, keep going.
What was that conversation like when you told her that, hey, this is done now, I'm staying here?
Screaming,
Yeah.
Excitement, and yeah, that was it. Not really too many words at first, it's just, again, a lot of screaming.
Okay, so season ended January 6th, like we were just talking about. What was your mindset heading into this offseason, knowing that you had an expiring contract and you were coming off a career year?
Praying that I got to stay here. Obviously, I can't control what tomorrow brings, and I can only control what I can control at the end of the day. But knowing that I'm going into free agency and there was options and stuff that I could explore and go other places, I wanted to be here at the end of the day, regardless of, there was a lot of chaos that went on last season and stuff like that. But again, like the relationships I built with everybody in this building, it wouldn't feel right to me to go somewhere else. This is where I've made a home, and this is where I would like to continue to be for the rest of my career and stuff like that. So when the season ended, I couldn't wait for basically March 12th, the free agency window, so I could re-sign here.
What were those hours like when you saw Bolton re-sign with the Chiefs? You're looking at the linebacker market, and you have an agent, of course, and then leading up to you saying with the Jets, okay, this deal is right. Let's get it done before free agency. Why did it happen before free agency even started?
I wish this happened in January 7th. But, I can't watch what other people do. Obviously, you see it. Everybody is different. They had a different career than I had, so I couldn't really compare what I had going on to theirs. I just had to trust God, trust my agent, and, just stay faithful to what I know, and that's just being myself at the end of the day. Whether it was less or more, again, that's out of my hands. All I can do is go out there, play to my best ability, make everybody proud the best way I can, just keep God first. Speaking about my mom, we talked about it, we actually had a number in our head, and, I was like, well, I don't know this, maybe, I hope this. And she was just like, just speaking into existence. And the power of the tongue is real. I did, and it happened.
Have you seen money change people before? And also, how is your approach going to be the same, Jamien, as always, even though that you are being paid more handsomely than you ever have?
I mean, I wouldn't say like I've seen it change people. Again, what people do with their money, that's on them at the end of the day. What I do with mine is on me. I wouldn't say it'll change me, but you do have to carry yourself differently when you become someone with this type of money. I will say it's going to change my family's lives for sure. That was the main goal. That was the main thing about getting something like this, to help out my family, just to give us the things that we didn't have before. And again, just to make us happy. That's why I play football, just to help change my family life.
So what were your interactions like with Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes, Aaron Curry, once this new staff was in place?
Each moment and each conversation was something different, but the same thing. Three guys that have played at a high level, have done the same thing that I'm doing at this moment, signing contracts, playing football for NFL teams and stuff. So Coach Glenn, I say, off our first interaction, I could tell that, he's super passionate. He loves football, eat, drink, sleep, whatever, football. With Coach Wilkes, I could just tell he's just a happy person. He's super excited, very anxious. Like, he's ready to play ball right now. Coach Curry, he was super laid back. I could kind of see some of myself in him and stuff. So, again, just having three coaches that have done it the same way I can, for me, is different because I can see how they see it. They can see how I see it. They can see how I feel. I can understand how they felt. And the fact that they each played 3 different positions, now I'm getting a different perspective from basically different angles on the field. And Coach Curry playing linebacker, Coach Glenn playing defensive back. So now I can ask some questions of how would you do this when you were playing? How would you do this when you were in this spot, et cetera? And again, it's just a blessing to be able to play under these guys going forward.
How would you describe AG?
Like I just said, passionate. You know, when we started talking ball, you know, you can't listen to the tone, you gotta listen to the message. Cause like, he was getting super into it and stuff like that. But the first day we sat down, I could just tell that he loves football. We barely spoke, and he started showing me film and getting on the board and stuff like that. And I'm a teachable person, coachable person. So it's like, I love stuff like that because I do love to learn. And, you know, we're going to have a great relationship.
You're a great athlete, but you love the cerebral aspects to the game. Can you speak to how much you love the thinking aspect of football, the study that goes involved, and how much that work off the field put you in position to succeed last year?
Well, again, making the transition from safety to linebacker, you know, it's a different game. Now any decision I make now has to be a little bit faster just because I'm closer to the line of scrimmage. So, you know, the best football players are the smartest football players. Understanding that, like, once the offense breaks the huddle, if you can already at least eliminate the things that they're not going to do, that's just going to put you one step forward. So I spend a lot of time just studying just so I can get that one step ahead, get that 1 inch on the offense. Because the game of football is all about inches. So again, me just understanding where they're not going to run the ball, where they're not going to throw the ball, is going to put me in a better position. It's going to put my teammates in a better position from a communication standpoint so we all can just play as fast as possible.
Mike linebacker, do you consider that the quarterback of the defense?
Oh, yeah. Without the Mike linebacker, I mean, it could really be any position, but in our defense, the Mike does make the communication. So without him, the other 10 players won't be able to get the call. He is the one with the green dot, so the defensive coordinator is telling me at the end of the day, or telling who's ever wearing that. So he is the quarterback.
Were you naturally a vocal guy, or did that come with time in terms of, hey, listen, everybody's looking at me and I'm going to take command here?
No, I wasn't. In college, I didn't speak at all. And then some of my coaches, you know, they got it out me, yelling at me to just be louder. And then, like, I sat there and just said, you know, like, if I just speak a little louder, they'll stop yelling at me. So ultimately, that led and translated to the NFL. And then again, as I gained more confidence and got more comfortable around my teammates, it helped me become a better leader and a more vocal leader and stuff like that. So again, just going out there on Sundays, it just became like us just hanging out in the locker room, us just being out at practice in the meeting room, just me being able to say whatever I want to say respectfully to my teammates and ultimately helping us try to get the job done.
What has CJ Mosley meant to you for?
Everything. I'll say, you know, God makes no mistakes in anything that he does, and the people that he makes you cross paths with, he does it for a reason. CJ, you know, from the moment I got in here, you know, I was nervous to just speak to CJ just because of CJ. Like, I used to play the video game and he was on there. He also went to the rival school of my college, so it was like, I don't know if we're gonna be friends, or I don't know how serious the rival is to him. But, you know, he's just been great. Every day he's here. He just answers every question that we have for him, no matter who asks, no matter when. You know, I could text him right now. He'll answer a question that I have. And he's just been amazing. Like, you know, he put his arm around me and, you know, basically he just said we're going to do it together. And, you know, I always appreciate him. And without him and other guys in that room, you know, this moment, this opportunity wouldn't be possible.
You didn't have the team success that you guys wanted last year on the field, of course, finishing 5-12. But can you speak to the individual steps that you took along the way in 2024 that led you to being team MVP, voted by the guys in the room?
I just say, basically, again, just still on CJ. You know, obviously when he went down, devastating to our room, to our defense, to our team, because, you know, he's our captain, he's our leader. So for me to have to basically fill in that spot, I had to take tremendous pride with it, because not only did I have to play to his standard, to his level of expertise, I had to be the one to get our defense set. We didn't come up the way we wanted to this season, like you said, but again, just taking on that leadership role was the main thing. Regardless of the accolades, the stats, you know, that all came with just me being a player of the game and studying stuff. But I say, like, really everything came because of how comfortable I am around my teammates, the respect that they have for me to come in and fill in for him. So without them, none of that would be possible. Because I could have just gone out there, and if I didn't feel the love from them, I wouldn't have been able to play the way I would have liked to. The fact that they embraced me stepping in and, you know, they believed in me, that was everything for me, and everything else just happened.
Were there games that you would say that you were in a zone? Maybe it's in Miami where you have 18 tackles. I think there were 6 or 7 games where you had 10-plus tackles, where you're just like, whatever play is out there on the field, I'm going to be there. I want to make sure somebody's going down.
Well, you know, every game, you know, I had to have that mindset, because, you know, I'm playing next to Quincy Williams. You know, he's the fastest dude on the field. So it's like, if I don't get there, he's going to get there. And again, that's the type of respect you want to have for a player you're playing next to, because when the game's not fun anymore, you're not gonna love it. So the fact that, like, he's my brother and I can go out there and compete with him, and, like, you know, it's like, nah, because I want to be better than you, because we're trying to make each other better. That's what basically would put me in the zone. Like, I'm playing next to an all-pro player. I got to play up to his standard. I got to play to the standard that he created. So, yeah.
How much do you enjoy the cat and mouse game that happens out there on the field? Brian Baldwin just did a breakdown to you, and there's plays where you're faking coming under pressure, and then you're turning around and reeling back in coverage, because you see that oftentimes where you're saying you're showing something, but you're going somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, you got some amazing quarterbacks on the other side of the ball, guys in our division and across the league. So having a guy like Aaron the past couple of years playing across from him, he taught me so much. Taught me where to look, where to be at, how a quarterback's eyes can control us, and basically how a quarterback knows what we're taught to do, and they're going against our rules. So being able to disguise and be able to drop back and come forward and side to side, you know, all that stuff matters, because, again, those guys get paid too. Those guys are just as smart as me, if not smarter. So trying to figure out ways to outsmart them to put myself in a position to make a play. Again, like I said earlier, it's a game of inches. So finding that one little inch to be successful, it all matters.
Did you have expectations for yourself coming out of Auburn in 21?
I mean, obviously, to just keep getting better. You know, when I heard I was going to be transitioned to linebacker at first, you know, I was a little bummed, because, you know, I had worked my whole life, my whole high school career trying to be a safety, in college playing safety. But my only goal was, you know, just go, like, this is something I worked for. So regardless of what happened, I wasn't going to let it beat me down. You know, I was just going to get up every time and do what I had to do at the end of the day. Did I know what I was getting myself into? Not at all. But again, I had made it to the NFL for a reason. And, you know, I know God didn't bring me this far just to bring me that far. And I knew there was more on the table for myself.
How are you absorbing the rest of what the Jets are doing in free agency right now? You got a couple of new teammates on the defensive side of the ball, and Brandon Stevens and Andre Sisco, of course.
So thing about Andre Sisco is we graduated high school at the same time. So, like, I've seen his name everywhere. You know, he's a phenomenal player. Just watching him throughout college at Syracuse, he's a ball hawk. You know, he makes plays all across the field. So I'm excited to play with a guy like that. Brandon Stevens, I'm excited for him and his family. You know, he's helped change his family, his lives for the rest of time. And again, just going forward, everybody else. After just meeting with everybody, Darren, AG, you know, they love ball. So I know they're going to find guys that love ball, and I'm just excited to play with everybody. build more relationships, make friendships, and doing stuff in the city, just everything.
So let me ask you, how much pressure does a quarterback like Justin Fields put on a defense?
A lot. You know, he can run, he can throw, same thing. He graduated 2018 just like us. You know, I watched him when he was at Georgia, and then he went to Ohio State, and then I watched him throughout his career in the league. You know, he's going to make us better at practice. You know, we need something like that, and he's going to make defenses worry because it's like you don't know if he's going to run it, you don't know if he's going to throw it, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. So I'm excited to play with him, you know, happy for him and his family as well.
How difficult is that to defend those RPOs, the zone reads, and on top of it, this is a big dude who's got an explosive arm.
It's hard because the moment you turn your back and you're in coverage and stuff and you're 30 yards downfield and it's like 3rd and long, you're hoping to get off the field, and a guy like that just runs and it's 1st down again, and now you're on the field. So it can be demoralizing to a defense, and that's what he's going to do for us. He's going to help break defenses down, and our defense is going to get on the field and do what we got to do, and we'll get some wins.
You've played here 4 seasons. How hungry are you to turn this thing around and be a part of it now? Because you know you're not going anywhere else. Your address is going to be One Jets Drive for a while.
Oh, forever, I hope. But that was the main thing about me coming back here. You know, I wanted to, since I started here, and it hasn't gone the way that I've wanted, that everyone else has wanted, I want to help be a part of the reason it does turn around. Again, like the guys we're getting now, the guys that we have on the team, I want us all to be smiling, hosting a trophy, having celebrations and parades in the city. You know, I feel like every man and every woman in this building deserves that because, you know, it hasn't been the best the last few years. And again, it would have hurt me to go somewhere else and to see the success that the Jets are going to have in 25. So I wanted nothing but to be a part of that.
I think there's going to be a lot more 44s at MetLife Stadium next season. What's your message to the fans as we move ahead?
No matter what jersey you have on, you know, just continue to show up and show out. Again, like I said before, it's not going to, the sun isn't going to shine every day, but it also isn't going to rain every day. As long as you just stick with us and they support us, you know, ultimately that's all you need. Good foundation, good fans, and just like a good, like just someone, like a shoulder to lean on, basically. Like I said, like when it's raining, still stick beside us, and when it's shining, stick beside us. And ultimately, you know, come January next year, we're all going to be happy.
Well, the sun doesn't shine every day, but the sun certainly is shining today. Jamien Sherwood, congrats, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.